Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again, and this is yet another of the beers that I brought back with me from my recent trip to my friend's wedding over there. So for this one we are going to head down to Denver in Colorado, which is a very good beer city these days from what I gather, and this was a beer that was very kindly given to me by my good friend Tabor, who incidentally you can see on my brewery visit video for TRVE Brewing Company. So a huge thank you to him for making this review possible. So for this one we are going to go to True Brewing, who like me have a little bit of heavy metal in their DNA, I guess you could say, and we're having a taste of one of their year-round beers. This one is the Cosmic Crypt, which is a farmhouse pale ale coming in at 5.6% ABV. This brewery of course are famous for their metal connections. Of course this is where all the metalheads in Denver go to hang out, of course, which is why Tabor goes there, but they're also known for their sour beers and for having a slightly lower ABV approach to their brewing as well, which is kind of interesting because they like to session their beers there apparently. But really looking forward to trying this one. I really hope that I can get to visit this brewery when I do make it out to Colorado, hopefully in the next couple of years for the Great American Beer Festival or something like this. But I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer, and I'm curious to see how it turns out. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from True Brewing. Very first time I'm tasting one of their beers, of course. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about True Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So True Brewing, as I mentioned to you, are based in Denver in Colorado, and they were founded back in the summer of 2012 in the Baker district of the city, which is apparently quite historic. But the main man behind this brewery is Nick Nuns, and he apparently didn't drink beer until his final year at university, when his friends bought him a stone arrogant bastard, because they said it was quite apt for him apparently. But from there he got very deeply into home brewing. He was very curious about how you could actually make beers that were similar to this stone one that he'd had. So he went on to draw up a business plan for the brewery, and then he began the location hunt, which he said took him absolutely ages to do. But when the brewery established, they became known as the Metalhead Brewery, and they got a lot of people that visited them because of this. So their head brewer is Zach Coleman, and he worked at Big Choice Brewing for about a year before joining the company. And basically this whole thing came about because he used to like to hang out at this brewery, but he was there pretty much every day after work, he was saying. But he became their head brewer, I think it was in September of 2013. But the brewery are well known for their lower ABV session beers and also for their sours as well, most of which have been brewed on an off-site facility which is known as the Acid Temple since 2015, and I believe in 2016 or 2017 they actually expanded this by taking the next lot in the property that they're in as well. So they have expanded considerably over the last little while. But they say that the ethos of the brewery is to channel Loki and embrace chaos. And as of August 2019, when I had a little look on Untappd, they say that they've produced around 90 different types of beer. It's maybe a little bit more than that, but those were the ones that are listed on Untappd. And when it comes to American breweries, quite often that is pretty damn accurate. So yeah, a really interesting brewery, this one. Hopefully I can go and visit them when I make it out to Colorado, like I said, and try a few of their different beers. But it's quite cool to encounter another American brewery who are well known for their sour beers actually. I mean, the ones that we hear of over here would be the likes of Crooked Stave and Wicked Weed and things like that. They were the ones that really gained a reputation for sour beers, so it's cool to try one that's a little bit less known. I actually suspect that this brewery might make their way over into Europe a little bit soon, because one of their former brewers actually now works for Mikkeller NYC, and I gather that they were at MBCC in Copenhagen just a few months back actually, so it's a bit of a shame that I never kind of caught up with them then actually, or if I'd known who they were I would have spent a little bit more time kind of talking to them and stuff. So yeah, kind of cool this one, like I say. So that's all the information I was really able to find about this brewery. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below, and of course you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and that will keep you up to date with all the latest goings on there. Kind of ironic as well that I'm using a stone Berlin glass for this one. This was the first beer that Nick, the Stone Arrogant Bastard, was the one that Nick first got into craft beer with, and I do need to review that on the channel for you at some point too. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. So there you can see, nice artwork in this one. It is pretty kind of black metalish, this actually. And there you can see TRVE Brewing Company, obviously with the Roman numeral there to give it a little bit of an Illuminati kind of feel. And there is Cosmic Crypt underneath, but it says 5.6% farmhouse paleo. This one brewed and canned by TRVE Brewing Company, Denver, Colorado. This one is 1 US pint, which if I'm remembering correctly is like 12 American fluid ounces, or is it 14? I can't quite remember, but it's 473 millilitres in real people measurements. I hate the system they use in America. They need to use the metric system because it just makes more sense. But yeah, let's give it a little wipe on the t-shirt just so it doesn't annoy the camera, as some of these cans tend to do. But let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting. I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. You can see a little bit of carbonation wanting to get out there. But yeah. Ooh, this looks pretty good actually, and I can tell you something, there's a nice sharp little bit of citrus there. Quite a bit of carbonation sticking to this one as well. I did rinse this glass just before I started filming the video, so don't know what the reason for that is. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely kind of bright golden yellow colour. It's almost the same colour as like a Gose or a Saison or something like that. Very, very bright pale yellow, this one. About half a finger of a bumpy perfect white head on this beer, so it looks pretty nice. You know, typical of what you'd expect for a farmhouse beer. They were saying on the video that I watched that they like to produce Goses and Saisons and stuff like this as well. So, you know, they, like I said, they are a brewery that focus mainly on the sour side of things. You can see there's a good bit of haze to this beer if I put my fingers behind the glass. Lovely bright yellow colour, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. It has calmed down a little bit now compared to how it was a minute ago, but you can see quite a few little bubbles just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, looks pretty nice. Nothing overly surprising about this one when you consider it's a farmhouse beer. You would expect this colour for a paleo these days as well, to be honest with you. So yeah, let's take a look at the aroma and just see how we get on then. Ooh, that does smell really quite funky actually. Yeah, so with this beer you are really going to notice a little bit of a sharp, tart, lemony citric note in there. It will be either Brettanomyces or Lactobacillus or something that, that is in this one. And you can really pick up that sharp tartness right away. There is a little bit of a grassy quality to the hops, a little bit of a lemony note in there too. Maybe they've used a bit of Centennial in here because I'm noticing that the lemon is kind of quite prominent in this one. And yeah, that could be a little bit of... it really could be a little bit. There's almost a kind of limey character in there too, so it could be Equinaut. And if I remember rightly, Idaho 7 is another one that gives you a sort of lemon, limey quality to your beer as well. So it could be something like that. I always like playing guess the hops with these beers when you've got things like this. But it's got a really interesting malt base to it. The hops for me are fairly straightforward on this one. The green side of the hops really leans towards the grassy side of things. There is a little bit of floral quality in there, maybe a tiny little hint of earthiness, but really it's a kind of lemon limey quality that's coming out of this one. But you also get that nice sharp tartness there out of the Lactobacillus or the Brettanomyces. I'm not sure exactly which one they'll have used in here. There is another type of wild yeast that you can use, another classification I should say, but I forget exactly what the name is, but apparently it's one that can really be a pain in the ass and give you mad infections and things, and that was what I believe closed down Stronzo Brewery over in Copenhagen. But yeah, the malt base in this one is quite interesting, so you can pick up a nice little bit of a white bready quality to this one. It's definitely got a little bit of a toasted grainy note in there as well, and you can really smell the farmhousey quality to this. It's definitely got a little bit of that almost dusty, flowery kind of quality. It's a little bit vegetal as well actually. I've always found that with some of these farmhousey beers, they remind me of my like vegetable recycle bin a little bit. Some of the aromas that you get out of these can be quite interesting, I have to say, but this one, it's just quite subtle in that regard. It does remind me of the Kveik yeasts that we get that are becoming quite popular here in Scandinavia now. Of course, they're from just over the border in Norway. But yeah, this one is the aroma of this one, I have to say, is really nice. It's not the most complex of aromas. The malt base does have a nice little bit of complexity to it. Like I say, white bread, kind of a little bit spicy in some ways. Maybe there's a little slight peppery spice or something, or a wheaty spice in there. But a little bit of that vegetal kind of herbal kind of thing that I was talking about. Definitely some biscuity sweetness as well, and almost a little touch of a woody quality in there also. So the aroma, the malt base does have a little bit of depth to it, but the grassy side of things, the hoppy side of things, is fairly kind of straightforward in my opinion. So yeah, as I always say, take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. That's always half the experience when it comes to craft beer and things. But let's have a taste of this one now and just see how we get on. This one is the Cosmic Crypt, a farmhouse pale ale coming in at 5.6% ABV from True Brewing Company, the metal brewery of Denver, Colorado. Hail Satan, hail Odin, let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Yeah, that is pretty good, I have to say. It's just that it's got a really nice drinkability to it. That's the first thing that I'm noticing about this beer. And like I said, that is something that they apparently pride themselves on, is the drinkability and sessionability of their beers. This is pretty good, and I can see why Tabor wanted me to have a little go at this, because this is quite different from the other things that I've been trying from the US in recent times. And I mean, I'm curious to see whether this brewery get a little bit more of a presence here in Scandinavia now, because as I say, they were over here for MBCC in 2019, so maybe we'll see some of these beers appearing in kiosk and things like that over the next little while, so I'll need to keep an eye out for that. But I think these would go down pretty well here when you consider how the Kvik IPAs and stuff are starting to take hold actually. So that's definitely a thing that I'll need to keep an eye on. Well, I'll keep an eye out for this when I pop over to Copenhagen and do my beer shopping there actually. So hopefully I can get a hold of a few more of these beers. If not, I'll just go and visit the brewery. But yeah, that's pretty damn good. Big thumbs up for me from this one. So what I would say about this beer, this isn't one of the ones that's really, you know, it's going to blow the head off you or anything like this. This is a nice, just easy-going, well-crafted beer. It's one that fits into that kind of category in my mind. So, straight away, let's try and break down the flavour of this one then. Straight away, you're going to get that nice sort of white bready, almost wheaty quality, just blanket in the middle of your tongue. You can really feel the slightly thicker notes from the yeasty qualities just sitting there in the middle of your palate as well. There's definitely not oats or anything like that added to this one, I don't think. But as the middle of your palate dries out, you do start to get a little touch of an almost spicy note to this one. And it's not coriander or anything, it might be a little teeny touch peppery or something like that, but maybe even that is too spicy to describe how this kind of spiciness comes out, if that makes sense at all. Yeah. But I do like how this one goes together. There's some really nice subtleties in the flavour of this beer in my mind. So for me, the malt base does come across as being really quite smooth actually. In the centre of your palate you do get a little touch of a biscuity note there, and if you just go along the edge of your tongue but move in slightly, you will get a little touch of a kind of woody quality coming out of this one as well, which I think is quite nice. You do get these little nice undertones in this beer, but by and large to me it's a very kind of straightforward, straight shooting beer this, which I do like as well. So malt base I think is fairly nice. You know, those herbally, vegetal kind of things that I was talking about in the aroma, you don't really pick those up in the flavour of this one. It's more the doughy kind of yeasty qualities that are kind of sitting there in the middle of your palate. And I've always found that strange about farmhouse beers as well, because the sort of vegetally kind of aromas that you can get from them, I'm not a great fan of those, but it always works out quite nicely in the flavour. And again, this is another beer that sort of backs that hypothesis, if you like. So yeah. Yeah, I do like how this goes together. I've said that a few times though. So on the hoppy side of things then, Back corners of the palate, there is a little bit of an earthiness in there. It's not too dark of an earthiness. It does give the beer a little bit of bitterness, but it's not overly present. But as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, you do get that nice floral aromaticity coming out of the beer, and it's almost a little touch spicy as well, which kind of builds a good bridge with that slight spiciness that's in the malt base there as well. So this beer does have a good level of crispness to it. That slightly spicy character that it has, both from the hops and from the malts, and the yeasty combination in the middle of your palate is quite nice. Round the front curve of the palate though, it's a little bit lighter and grassy, and the grassiness as well, it plays well with the sort of sour qualities that the beer has, the sort of sharper tartness that you're getting from the yeast in there too. So it's a really interesting combination of things that this beer has on offer actually. So like I said, round the front curve of your palate it's a little bit lighter and grassy, but it does still feel quite crisp and fresh. But behind the front curve, just behind that, that's where you get the sharpness out of this beer from the lactobacillus or the Brettanomyces. Yeah, it's just behind the front of the palate there that you start to get that sharpness coming out of the beer actually, which is quite nice. And I do like beers that are like this. I really like Brettanomyces and lactobacillus because I'm very close to Bryggeriet here in Skåne, in the south of Sweden, so these kind of slightly sour, funky beers are ones that I've always been a great fan of. But on the fruity side of this beer, it does the sour quality in this one does have a really slightly sharp, lemony, citric note. But the fruity esters, as I always say, behind the front curve of your palate, you'll get that little oily bubble that just rolls out across the tongue. For me, towards the front of that, it is a sort of lemon limey quality. It really leans towards the limey side of things, and there is something in my head that wants to say there's Centennial in here. The limey notes that I was picking up in the aroma, not getting so much of those, to be honest with you. I would be more inclined to say that it was Centennial rather than Equinaut that's in this one. But if you go behind that a little bit more, there is a sort of like almost peary ester coming out of this beer as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, it's a little bit sort of peary, apricot-y, maybe even like a little touch pineapple-y or something like that. If you just go to the back of that oily bubble I was talking about, it's like, yeah, pears, apricots, pineapples. It's something along those kind of lines that's coming out there. Then towards the front of the tongue, it's a little bit more sort of it's definitely a little bit more sort of lemony and sharp, if you like. But it's a nice combination of flavours in this beer. It does come across to me. This is something I would be more keen to drink in the summer than I would in the winter or something like that. It's just a nice, sessionable sort of sour pale ale, this one. So yeah, if that sounds like it ticks the boxes for you, just, you know, have a go at it, because I think you will enjoy it. I've just noticed that when I've poured the last of this beer in, and I wasn't sure about that, whether we would have it being a little bit more hazy and things. So let's just take another taste of this one and see how we get on, because you can see just how that has changed the focus of the beer there. So we'll just take a look at a taste of this one again and see how we get on. And yeah, in fairness, the sort of smoothness to the beer does change there. You do get a lot more of a smoother kind of quality out of this one. I mean, I've had this one in the fridge for like we're doing a bit more than that, about 4 weeks, something like that, before I've actually tasted this beer. I probably should have drank it a little bit fresher than that, but in my mind it's still holding up pretty well. But when you have the haziness in it, some of that, the sharpness still sits there, but you really do get more, you really do get a little bit more smoothness from that middle part of your tongue actually, which is nice. And but all the undertones that I was talking about earlier do kind of sit there. Yeah, that's really nice how this one, how all those flavours go together. It does get just that little bit smoother if you have the slightly cloudier thing. So obviously, the part of the beer, there has been a little bit of sedimentation in this one when it's been in the fridge. So maybe I should have just inverted it a little bit before it opened up. So maybe a bit of an amateur mistake there, but regardless, you get two different beers like that when you do things like this almost. But it's a really nice beer. This one smooths out a little bit, even when it's without the sort of sediment, if you like. It does come across really nicely as well. So maybe that's one of the things they could do with this beer. They could do a filtered version, which is a nice light sessionable summer thing, and they could have the unfiltered version, which is the slightly bigger thick thing. So food for thought maybe. But overall, generally this is a really, really nice beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So in terms of the mouthfeel overall, I would describe this beer as being mid-bodied. Carbonation is very smooth in this one. The mouthfeel overall, it does have a little bit of a wetness to it, this one, and that's just because I think it is a sort of farmhousey sour beer, but the thickness that you get out of this one later on is quite nice as well, especially when you have this stuff in it too. But it doesn't have the sediment in it. It's not too far off that actually. The sediment doesn't make all that much difference to the mouthfeel in my opinion. In terms of hoppy bitterness to this one, I would say you've got, I think you're just talking around 30 IBUs in here. It's not too far off what you would expect for the likes of a New England IPA these days. I think around 30 IBUs. Malt base, like I say, very, very smooth in this one, and you know, when I drink more of this, it does thicken out quite nicely. You get more of the wheatiness out of it. Yeah, it does come across as nice and thick. It's been slightly thicker with that sediment in there, but not overly, if that makes sense. But yeah, you've got a nice smoothness in the malt base there. It does progress to be a little bit sweeter the further you go into the aftertaste too, but certain parts of your palate will dry out a little bit. You've got a nice little bit of sharpness there in the beginning and some nice juicy fruity qualities also. But overall, a really, really solid beer, this one, and be very curious to see what some of their other offerings are if this is one of their year-round cans, because I know they do sour brown ales and stuff like this, and they've created a few of their own sort of sour style beers as well. So definitely a brewery that I want to visit, and it's been cool to review this one for you here on the channel. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one is the Cosmic Crypt, a 5.6% farmhouse pale ale from TRVE Brewing Company in Denver in Colorado. Once again, a huge thank you to Tabor for giving me this can to review. He picked a very, very good brewery for this one, I have to say, so thank you to him. I hope you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from TRVE Brewing Company as well, and you know, do give me some other Denver brewery recommendations that I can have a look at as well, because I'm sure when Tabor does come to visit me, I can ask him to pick up a few different things for me. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will catch you guys very soon. This one is the Cosmic Crypt Farmhouse Pale Ale at 5.6% from TRVE Brewing Company in Denver, Colorado. Slange at school, hail Loki, hail Satan, all of this kind of thing. Enjoy some good heavy metal. Cheers.